This is Ronald with Win911, and thank you for joining us for our next installation of our instructional video series. This is video number 8, and we're going to cover how to connect your FactoryTalk alarms and event server to Win911. And I've got Cody here, our Director of Engineering, who's going to walk us through this. All right, thanks, Cody. Take us away.
Thanks, Ronald. So FactoryTalk Alarm and Events is one of the easiest sources to configure within Win911. I'm going to start by launching the Win911 configuration utility. And under Alarming, we'll find a new section for the FactoryTalk Alarm and Events source module. Here we have two workspaces. The first is for defining what we call subscriptions. And these are a way to define which alarms from within your FactoryTalk Alarm and Events server you're interested in monitoring within Win911. We let you set up filter criteria quickly and easily to determine which of those alarms you want to bring in and which you want to exclude. The other workspace is for connecting with the FactoryTalk Alarm and Events server. I'll do that next. So the subscription workspace provides an all alarms filter. This matches all alarms, and you're free to use this. You're also free to define a new one based on the alarm's names, classes, and severity. So here I have a very simple FactoryTalk Alarm and Events setup. I have 3 alarms, a gate valve, and 2 tank levels. The name of the gate valve is gate valve, and the tank levels both contain the name tank, tank 1 level, tank 2 level. All 3 of these are in the alarm class Win911. So let's start by creating a subscription to match that class. So we'll call this subscription class Win911, and then our filter criteria is going to be a specific class. And we're going to say any class that contains Win911. The next kind of subscription I'll create is one for tanks. So I'll call this one tanks, and here I'm interested in filtering on a specific name. So if I want just these 2 alarms and not this gate valve, both of them have tank in their name. I can exploit that here.
And Cody, while you're there, I saw a couple of options with that drop down. Could you go over those with us too?
Sure. So we support wildcards. These are essentially asterisk to match any character multiple times, or question mark to match any character 1 time. So for instance, tank 4 would match this wildcard expression, tank 40 would match this wildcard expression, and both of those examples would match tank asterisk. We also support regular expressions, which are very powerful expressions for matching specific strings. And then the very easy to use contains and does not contain. So as alarms come in with the name tank, I'd like to automatically attach a label to them. So let me jump to the label workspace. And I'll use this tanks label here. And assign those to alarms which match this particular filter at runtime.
And as you guys remember from previous videos, that label is going to make grouping alarms and then applying alarm strategy a lot easier. And so if y'all have done this from left to right as we recommended, then you would have set up your strategies and tactics, and then you would have had that label inside one of your tactics. And then we'll show you how to connect that to an alarm in a minute. But the idea is to make it a lot simpler to configure things in bulk, if you will.
So the last filter criteria we accept is severity. And we support both severity ranges and severity values. Inside of FactoryTalk, each alarm has a severity that's configurable within that range 1 to 1,000. If you look at my tanks, each specific condition, high, high, low, 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 have their own severity. So if I were interested in just the high, high, and low, low conditions here, I could filter out things that are just severity 1. And maybe I want to apply a label to that one too, call that critical. So those are just a few examples of the kinds of subscriptions that you can create to bring in alarms. Once you've defined your subscriptions, you can move to the Applications workspace and create a new connection. We need to give it a name. We can name this whatever we want. I'll just name it FTAE demo. We can also describe it if we want, and we need to specify whether this is a local or a network application. Here I'm working with a local application. And the application name appears to be Win911 demo. Now the username and password are also configured inside of your FactoryTalk Studio. And here we've got a Win911 user that we've set up. So I'll enter his username and password. Now I can test that connection. So I've got a good green check. That means that all of this information I've provided is correct, and we have established a connection with our FactoryTalk Alarm and Event Server. We're ready to receive alarms. The last setting that's on here is an option for receiving only good quality events. So if you're in an environment which has a lot of nuisance comm alarms, you may consider checking that just to exclude those. Of course, that will exclude Win911's monitoring and reporting and notification of those. So if you'd prefer to see those and send out notifications about them, you should leave this box unchecked. I'll check it here. And I'm ready to define my routes. So earlier we created subscriptions, and I'm going to use the class Win911 subscription right now. As defined here, this would say that anything that occurs inside the FactoryTalk Alarm and Event Server with the class Win911 should use the default strategy and perform notification. I've got another strategy I defined earlier called FactoryTalk Alarms. So I'll instead send those alarms to that strategy. If I create a new route, I could pick a subset of those, say my tanks, and send those to a different strategy. Now the order of these routes is important because remember those tanks were all in the alarm class Win911. And since we evaluate these routes in order, as defined here, all of those tank alarms would match the class Win911 as well. So I need to move this definition up. Now, when we evaluate subscriptions in the order they're defined here, anything that's a tank alarm will go to our default strategy, and then the last tank valve alarm, this gate valve, will match the Win911 class and go to our FactoryTalk Alarm strategy. The last piece of configuration is a watchdog. The watchdog alarm is a Win911 alarm that monitors a FactoryTalk Alarm and Events alarm in order to establish connectivity reporting. So I can name this whatever I want. And by default, we provide a class name of watchdog. So what you would do here is set up an alarm inside of FactoryTalk Alarm and Events with a script that causes that alarm to go active and inactive at a regular basis. Place that in the class called watchdog. And as long as we see a change to that alarm state within 90 seconds, we'll continue to reset our watchdog alarm. If we stop seeing a change, that could indicate that we've lost connectivity with the FactoryTalk Alarm and Events server, and the watchdog alarm would then go active. You could notify out based on whatever strategy you've picked here. And we would notify personnel that we had lost our connectivity, and they could repair things. So let's save this connection. So as soon as I save, everything is live and everything is configured and running. So if I open up the Win911 log viewer. All right, so having located my log viewer, we're hooked up, we're connected, we're live, and we should be mirroring the alarm summary that our FactoryTalk SCADA displays here. So if I were to set off this gate valve, we'll see that alarm come into the FactoryTalk summary screen shortly, and then into our own live log viewer. So I can tell here that this came into my Win911 demo A&E connection, that it has the gate valve alarm point. You can see my watchdog go off there. That's because I don't actually have an alarm set up. Get rid of that just as a nuisance. So I can act this gate valve right from Win911, either from an email or a voice call or my mobile app on my smartphone. Here I'll act it from the log viewer itself, and I'll provide a comment. We'll see that update inside of FactoryTalk and then be reflected in our own program. And that goes all the way back into FactoryTalk. If I were to look at the alarm details here, I would see that Win911 was the acknowledging username, and I can see, in fact, that it's the log viewer of Win911 that made that particular act, and I can even see my comment. So all of that information goes right back into FactoryTalk. Let's take a look at one of my tank alarms instead. So I'll set off a couple of those. So here's my high tank, and there's my tank 1 level. And you see that the low, low, and low conditions, just like they appear as separate alarms here inside of FactoryTalk, they appear as separate alarms inside of Win911. And low and low, low. I'll act those. And this comment is optional. I can actually just not provide one. You see the act is independent. I can act the low without acting the low, low. And you see that the strategy that I defined is being applied. So the tank 1 and tank 2 alarms are hitting my default strategy. Again, that's because in my routes, my tank filter is sending things to the default strategy. And my gate valve is not matching my tank's filter, but it is matching my class filter on Win911. So that's using the FactoryTalk alarm strategy. And we can see that here. So that's about it. Live alarms, FactoryTalk, easy setup.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us and walking us through that. As usual, everybody, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. We are here to help. You can call us or email us. We want to make sure you're successful using this and let us know what we can do for you. And please tune in to the next one. Thanks again, everybody.